Well, good Friday morning, everybody, and it's a little bit of a dreary, drizzly Friday morning here today. I guess it's not really raining at the moment, but it did rain during the night. This is April 9th, and of course it's Friday, as I already mentioned. Today we're just going to take a very short passage of Scripture. We're going to look at the 9th chapter of Acts. We're going to be looking at verses 32 to 35 this morning, and that's all we're dealing with. If you remember yesterday, we bid farewell for a while to Paul, and he's off on his merry way. He's got things to do and places to go and people to see, as they say. And it's left off with verse 31. Meanwhile, the church throughout Judea, Galilee, and Samaria had peace and was built up. Living in the fear of the Lord and the comfort of the Holy Spirit, it increased in numbers. Now it seems that since the chief persecutor from the Jewish side, Paul, has converted to Christianity, there seems to be some peace, even though it seems like the Jewish people are still out to get Paul, and he's kind of staying low, and that's why they moved him off to Caesarea and off to Tarsus. So today we're going to shift back to Peter, and we will be with Peter for a little bit. And Peter has gone down to the city that's identified as Lydda. And we're going to talk about Lydda a little bit. This is the only time the city of Lydda is mentioned in the New Testament. I believe here for the next little bit we're still going to stay in Lydda, but this is in Acts is the only time I should say it's mentioned. We're going to talk about Lydda tomorrow again, but we're staying in Lydda. It's not like we leave and come back. So Lydda, though, is a very, very old city. Very, very old place. It's called Lod. Lydda is the Greek word for the Hebrew name Lod, and Lod is mentioned several times in the Old Testament, and it is identified as a city of Benjamin, to the tribe of Benjamin, and it is a very, very old city, as I said. It dates back potentially to 5600 BC, so that would make it about 7,600 years old, that settlement. So between let's just say 7,500 years old, that there's been a settlement there. So it's a very old place. A lot of history there. Would predate the Hebrew faith. So it is an old place. Today it's still there. It's still the city of Lod is still in Israel. It's about 9 miles from Tel Aviv. It is a city of around 75 to 80,000 people though today. So it is for us here in the Midwest, that's a good sized town. That's a big place. To me, as a Midwesterner, it's not as big as Omaha, where I spent most of my life, but still, 75 to 80,000 people. That's a sizable community. But I don't know how large it was at the time Peter was there. One would have to assume it was much smaller, obviously, but it still was an important place in that time. It was a place of trade and some prosperity, apparently. So it wasn't like it's just a little tiny village that we might envision. It's not that. It's a bustling place. So that's the setting of where we're at. My understanding is we didn't go when we were in Israel. We didn't go to Lod. And my understanding is not much tourist trade goes there because there's not much, which is interesting. As old as it is, you'd think there'd be lots of things to see there. But my understanding there's just not a lot of touristy things set up there. If I ever go back to Israel, it would be interesting to go and see it just because of the age. I mean, that's an incredible age if you think about it. That's just amazing. To go and see some of the pottery and artifacts they found that they've dated back that far. So with that, let's pick up with chapter 9, verses 32 to 35. I have gone on long enough preparing you for this. Now, as Peter went here and there among all the believers, he came down also to the saints living in Lydda. There he found a man named Aeneas, who had been bedridden for 8 years, for he was paralyzed. Peter said to him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ heals you. Get up and make your bed. And immediately he got up, and all the residents of Lydda and Sharon saw him and turned to the Lord. And Sharon, I didn't look up at what the size and the location of Sharon must be pretty close, and perhaps even in this day and age, it's been absorbed by Lod. Who knows? Even Lod is probably at risk of getting absorbed by Tel Aviv, since they're only about 9 miles apart. this is very reminiscent of the story of the paralytic at the Beautiful Gate. Remember that Peter and John came in, and we've got nothing to give you, but we'll take care of healing you. We'll bring you back into community. Again, we have to remember all of this about someone that has a deformity, someone that's paralyzed. In that day and age, illness, what have you, it would have been looked at as that was in payment of sin. He's being punished for his sin. And this fellow had been bedridden for 8 years. So he's suffering under not only that confinement, that disability, but he's also suffering under that judgment of the people. Say, oh, well, I wonder what he did, that he's so worthy of that he deserved to be crippled as such. And so he's been not only cured of his illness or his disability, he's been cured of his sin, so to say. He's been made right with the people and God. And of course, this is a way that Peter, again, he's been there for 8 years. God used Peter to come and heal him as a testimony. The healings here are very much a way of testifying about the power of God, and that's what's going on here, because through his healing, Peter's coming right out of the gate, walking into town, heals this guy, and boom, all of a sudden the word gets out. Even if it is a large, active town, the word's going to spread. They're going to get to the coffee shops, and from the coffee shops, whatever they had for coffee shops in those days, the coffee shops of today, and from there it gets out in the community very, very quickly. It's kind of like Clint and I are up here at the church, and Scotty DeFries will go up to street things and have coffee, and then he comes back here and tells us what's going on in town. So we keep abreast of things because Scotty's keeping his thumb on the news for us. But it's the same way back then. Excuse me. Same way back then. Word got around quickly, probably much quicker than today, because that was an ingrained way of communication. Anyway, we want to look at the timeline here, and that's where I think we're going to take the message from this for us to apply to our lives today. This fellow's been crippled for 8 years, and of course he's been praying. He's been pleading to God, I'm certain, for some relief, some release from this deformity, whatever it is. We don't know exactly why he's crippled. If it's an accident or illness, we don't have a clue. Does not tell us. But after 8 years, he's been healed. He's been brought back to the community as well as being healed. That's the big part of that. You remember, don't ever forget that. That's a big part of this whole thing of healing somebody that has these illnesses, is bringing them back to community. Just like the blindness, just like the lepers, especially lepers. But it's the whole thing. Even a cripple, even someone that is paralyzed in his legs, he's been brought back to the community. But it's the patience involved in this. 8 years is a long time to be asking for release. And for him, he's probably maybe even asking for forgiveness. He doesn't know what he's done, thinking what he's done wrong. We don't believe that way now. I don't believe that God causes illnesses and disabilities in people, but I do think God can use those. And perhaps, as I mentioned to one of our members the other day, that was talking to me about, why are they this way? Well, there's some of us, I think, are meant to be prayer warriors. We are just, that is our calling. If we can't do anything else, if we're getting to the point where we're too old, we're too disabled, whatever, by golly, God can still use us to be sitting there in our corners, in our chairs, with our Bible, and lifting up prayers for others. And so we can keep our fingers on what's going on, keep our ears to the pipeline and all of that, and know who is out there that needs prayers. And we can also just be lifting up prayers for the people that we might sense need prayer, and praying for each other, because everybody needs some prayer, guys and gals. That's a commonality. We all need somebody to be praying for us. So I do think that sometimes God puts us in a, I shouldn't say puts us in a position, He allows us to be in a position where all we've got left to do is, all we can do is contribute, is to be praying and to be lifting people up, or encouraging people through notes or calls or what have you. So that's where I'm going to leave you at today. Oh, that's Friday. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your weekend. We're getting ready. Tomorrow we're going to continue talking about Peter in Lydda, and as well as Joppa as well. So he's going to move around a little bit. And I'm not sure how far away Joppa is either. I'll have to look up where Sharon and Joppa are from Lydda. So, all right. And Minnie is saying prayers are a blessing. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Minnie. God bless you all. Have a very blessed day and be a blessing to someone today. Pray for them. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.